Let's get perspective on that report. Joining us from Dun & Bradstreet is the Managing Director, Manish Sinha. Mr. Sinha, great to have you with us this afternoon, but not great to see what your report is indicating. We're seeing what the equity markets are doing at one level. Yes, there is a certain amount of caution. We've been range-bound for some time, and market experts are saying that's the way it's going to be for some time. But tell us, what's with the business sentiment? Why is it so low, and how do you think it's going to play out? Is it going to stay like this?
Hi, good afternoon. So the overall message that we're getting from the Business Optimism Index, I would have to say, is a bit mixed. It isn't clearly down. So what we have is a quarterly Business Optimism Index. It comes out of about 350 respondents across a variety of industries. And what we compare that output with is we have the latest number for the quarter, and we compare it with two numbers, that is the same quarter the previous year and the quarter immediately preceding. So compared with the same quarter the previous year, actually business optimism is up. It's up by approximately 7.6%. But compared with the immediately preceding quarter, it is down by 6.6%. So I would have to say it's a bit of a mixed message, and obviously you alluded to the fact that there's an impact of recent events relating to the bank fraud and some other things in the global economy.
Can I ask you what you feel the possible turnaround factors would be to really watch out for, and the kind of timeline I guess one can expect there?
Yeah, so the turnaround factors, if any, I think the downturn that is driven by the recent bank fraud is partially due to real things, if I can call it that, which is, an actual tightening, an actual reduction in liquidity. That is because of the withdrawal of the LOUs and the LOCs. So there are some real things, and there are some what I would call sentiment related things. So for example, the fact that the market doesn't know what else to expect. The fact that in the global economy, you have a U.S. challenge to India's export subsidy schemes. There's a widening of the current account deficit at the same time as when the net FDI has also declined. So I would say that the turnaround will come out of a little bit more of a stabilization in the sentiment-related things, and as relates to bank fraud, etc. Sentiment will just be better if there's no news for a while, or no adverse news certainly.
Yeah, and that seems to be a bit of an ask. You did mention global factors, and we seem to be very reactive. To that extent, the equity markets at least seem to be tied in to what's happening with the rest of the world. And we've seen that happen from time to time. But domestically, what we've noticed as the IIP numbers came in as well, Mr. Sinha, is that the core sector, and manufacturing in particular, has kind of been a little resilient. There has been growth over the last couple of months, and that has sustained. So if you look at it sectorally speaking, because I see that your report is also saying that the underlying dynamics for growth remain in place. In that sense, then, which are the sectors that are likely to show potential growth for the coming quarter? What's your outlook suggesting?
So when we unpack the components of the Business Optimism Index, the industries that show some signs of a broad-based growth are manufacturing, consumer non-durables, capital goods sector. These are some of the areas where at least the optimism suggests that there'll be an uptick. And Business Optimism Index, from our experience, tends to be a good leading indicator of what happens when the GDP results are actually coming out. So over the last sort of 50 to 60 quarters that we've published the Business Optimism Index, we find that we get it about 80% right in terms of the final GDP growth rates. So these are some of the areas of
All All right, sir. Thank you so much. That's Manish Sinha, who's the MD Dun & Bradstreet, really giving us a sense as to how the recent developments at banks seem to be taking a toll, really, when it comes to business sentiment across the country. Thank you very much for being part of that conversation with us right here on BTVI. Still ahead, we're actually going to be having more conversation.